Hi and welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Vashral and in today's video I'll be talking about my top 10 list of 2023. This is not related to the 2023 year. I do have a couple of games that are from 2023, but this list is more encapsulating backlog games, games that I won, games that I received as keys that I wanted to talk about, and so much more. So let's get into the intro. I'll start first by giving a couple of honorable mentions. So let's go from the very bottom one and we're gonna go all the way up to the game of the year. So the first one is gonna be 1111 Memories Retold. 1111 Memories Retold is an indie game that I honestly did not expect that I would enjoy. I won this one through Steam Gifts and I tried it out for an event which is called PAGYWORSG, which means play a game that you won through Steam Gifts. And it's a very small group that organizes this kind of events. Every single month they have a particular objective that you have to play and you try them out and you have fun and you pick one game and then you either beat it or you complete it. It's up to you. You don't really get any kind of score between beating and completing it, but at least you get the satisfaction that you're playing the games that you win through Steam Gifts. And this game is all about two stories of a German soldier and a Canadian soldier who are meeting up in the First World War, and it's their stories of their connections through the war. And the German soldier was trying to find his son in this war and try to find out what is going on, while the Canadian soldier, he's more like a photographer, so he's trying to picture the situation that is going on in the war. And they have an interesting encounter where they meet up and they create quite the friendship, despite the fact that they know nothing about their languages and they struggle to understand each other, which I found really fascinating. It's a very sweet game and I highly recommend to anybody who wants to try something different. The thing that I didn't like the most was the visuals. They were very hard to distinguish what it was collectibles and whatnot, although the story was very pleasant and I enjoyed it and it was very interesting, and I did 100% this game in a couple of hours. I sank in this game roughly 32 hours, which is quite plentiful if you think about it, and that was because I struggled with getting all the collectibles because it was very hard to see. And I highly recommend having a guide for this or any other sort of mods if you want to help yourself to find and see better visuals. There's one that actually modifies everything of how the game looks, but I really think that destroys the appeal of the game. The next game that I really enjoyed was GRIS, and GRIS is a very sweet platformer with very interesting visuals, and it talks about the difficult time this young daughter has mourning her lost mother. And although it did not resonate with me entirely, although I did have similar circumstances, I can say that I really enjoy the aesthetics and the story that it tried to portray. I didn't have that much emotion when it comes to the ending of the game, although it was a very short game. I didn't spend more than a couple of hours on it. I think maybe 8 hours or something like that. I did enjoy it, and when I looked at other people connecting with the story or having their first experience in the end of the story, it was really touching and emotional. So I do recommend trying GRIS out. It's a very simple platformer with interesting visuals, with some puzzles here and there that is worth checking out. The next game that I enjoyed and is an honorable mention is Bastion. So Bastion is an interesting game that was developed by the team behind Hades. I did enjoy Hades, but I did not complete it, but I did give Bastion a chance and I don't regret it. I think it's a very interesting beginning and you can really tell the difference between Hades and where Bastion was trying to build up that kind of essence, and Bastion does a great job at that. It does a very good job at telling a great story, and I think that is probably one of the most interesting parts of it, and the gameplay itself. You have a ton of weapons that you can try and work your way through. It's not as Hades where you pick up a weapon and you fight throughout the whole game. You will unlock couple of them that throughout the missions, and it's a more linear kind of way, easier to digest and not as difficult as Hades was. Still quite a difficult game, but it was much more easier to complete. I've spent 25 hours on this game and I don't regret it. It was really nice, and I truly enjoyed it. My only thing that I had a problem with was the visuals. I did not enjoy that much the visuals. It was really difficult. The platforms were a little bit much more harder to distinguish. Falling was quite often and whatnot, but still very interesting. I really love the narration and I highly recommend trying that game out. The next one is called Trepang 2. I made a review for this game as I truly enjoy this game. It's a successor or takes inspiration from games like Fear, where there's a lot of bullet time action in it and a lot of things are going on, trying to fight out the AI and trick it, and you're using your abilities as you're a super soldier, and it's a fun game that I highly recommend for those who enjoy more gameplay aspects than a story. The game doesn't really carry that deep story and whatnot. It still has something over there, but the main elements is the combat, the bullet time that really stuck out to me, and I really enjoyed it. I think it is a very good game for what it is and what it's trying to take inspiration from, although it's not Fear, even if I'm talking out of non-experience because I did not play Fear. But those people who do play Fear oftentimes criticize this game by not being the exact, type of game that you normally play, which is fine. I mean, the developer tried something and they took inspiration, and I think we need more games like this. Now, moving next, I have a multiplayer game, which is Diablo 4. I played this game when Armea used to be on the channel before she actually decided to leave and do something else, and I truly enjoyed the combat aspect of the game. I didn't play that much the campaign of the game, and I think that the campaign is pretty good, although I did enjoy the combat in the game. I really like to just play through and have a good time, and what you see on the screen, a couple of hours that I spent roughly about 25 hours, and I didn't even get to play the main campaign and finish it. I do intend to return to it and maybe finish the campaign for the sake of knowing what is going on, but I do not intend to play it for the multiplayer aspect. This game came out to Steam for a short period of time, was free to play, so I had the chance to include it in my library, which I'm really happy about it, and I managed to sunk up a couple of hours on that one. But overall, I really think it's a fun game, but if you enjoyed the Diablo series, maybe there's other games from the series that are much more well done. For example, the remake of Diablo 2, in my opinion, but still I think it holds up quite well and quite nicely. Lastly, my honorable mention goes to Rage, and this is because I didn't manage to complete the story for this game. I only spent a couple of hours in this game, and I'm currently playing it, and I'm planning to complete this game by the end of the year. Hopefully I will manage to do so, but so far I'm really enjoying the game. I think it's an overlooked game, to be honest. It's made by id, the guys behind Doom Eternal and Doom, the most recent entries, and I truly enjoyed it for what it is. The driving is quite fascinating, how well it was done for the boogie and the other vehicles. The racing is not too bad, and it's not even a racing game, it's a shooter game. Visually still holds up for more than a decade right now, and I honestly enjoy it. Voice acting is very well done, and also a lot of character animation in this case looks really nice, and a lot of effort. So it looks like a high budget game back in the days when it came out, and I think it's overlooked, and I highly recommend anybody to try it out. Of course, you will be able to see the trailer for the game on the screen, because that's what I try to do. Thank goodness to my green screen right now, because I have the ability to do all this kind of stuff, so I'm really happy about that. But now it's time to talk about my 10 games that I've been playing. I've completed this 2023, so completed as 100%, and I'll be talking about them. I'll be sharing a few things. Of course, my whole memory might, leave me behind, and I don't want to make this video too long because of the idea that I respect your time and how much time you want to spend watching my videos. So if you enjoyed so far, I would appreciate if you give me a thumbs up. It really helps me reach out to other people. And if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe, and that means the world to me because I can finally reach 1,000 subscribers, 100 subscribers more. So it's not too far, and I think I can do it with your support. So thank you so much for helping me out with this. So without further ado, let's get into the top 10 list of games that I've enjoyed this 2023. So I'll begin first with number 10, which is Cuphead. Cuphead is a very interesting game that I played, but extremely tough to learn and master. It's a shoot 'em up type of game with really beautiful art style that captures the 1920s, 1930s cartoons. It looks like a Disney game that has so much heart into it. Each boss encounter feels extremely unique and very satisfying to play, and I really enjoy this kind of game. It was really hard not to put this game up much more higher, but I did put it on top 10 because of the fact that it's a very tough game and it's very frustrating for the most part when you're dealing with every single boss encounter. What makes this game really special is the fact that it's like a soul-like game but shoot 'em up, where you go from a boss to another boss with a few things like platformer elements in between. It tells a story where you either play with as Cuphead or Mugman, and you gamble and you end up dealing with the devil, and you make a trade with the devil because the devil wins the gambling and he wants to take your soul. So in exchange, you tell the devil that you will get the soul of other residents on that island in order for you to save yours. And of course, don't make deals with the devil because something bad is gonna happen. And the whole premise of the game is to find and fight these characters, which are the bosses in the world, and defeat them. And yeah, it sounds interesting, and it has a very interesting story behind it, if you want to say it like that. But mainly what captivated me was the gameplay, the visuals, the detailed animations of each boss encounter. It was so interesting to look at the way they were designed and the way they reacted, that it was really difficult to avoid projectiles oftentimes, because you will be like, wow, I can't believe that they actually made this one. So it's a very pleasant game to look at, very tough. So I highly recommend trying it out, but do keep in mind that if you play this one co-op, you're gonna probably have a harder time and it might ruin some relationships. So be warned if you're picking this kind of game, as it might be tough. I did play the DLCs as well, and I can say that definitely the introduction of the new character is, welcome, and it adds a couple of layers of new areas of the map. You go to another island, and over there you have different encounters, and yeah, it's very fun. I think Mrs. Chalice is a very good and very strong character, and much more easier side than Cuphead or Mugman. So I don't want to extend this one just by talking on the 10th one. So let's go on with the next game. So the next game is called Outer Wilds. Now this is a very interesting game, and I really enjoyed the exploration part of it. You will see that throughout my list there will be a lot of games that have different genres. Really, I did experiment this year with a lot of types of games, and this is one of them. It's a very interesting game that I finished last month, right on the 30th, I think 29th of November, and I really enjoyed it. I can't say much about the story itself without spoiling the whole exploration, because this game particularly has to be enjoyed going blindly. Now, I did play it because I had the DLC, and the DLC brings out a little bit much more clarity to what is going on in the world, what is happening and why is it happening, and it's more tailored towards the creepy side. Some people will say horror. I didn't find it that horror, but it's definitely creepy, but super fascinating. So I will give you a little bit of glimpse of how that looks like without spoiling you on the video, of course. But the main game itself is super tailored for explorations, where you play as this alien. Now I forgot what is the name of the aliens, and you are an astronaut and you're planning to explore the outer wilds to see the world around you, and you will encounter planets that are behaving differently with different biomes and different kind of things that are affecting. And what's cool about this game is the fact that your exploration gets you to know more about the game and more about this planet. And some planets are connected to the others, and some planets are leading you to go somewhere else for exploration. But the main caveat of this game is the loop system. And here's gonna be a little bit of a spoiler for those who are watching, so you've been warned. The main spoiler for the game is there's a loop. You will die, sun explodes, and you need to figure out what is going on. That's pretty much the story. That's where it starts and that's where it goes. And you have 22 minutes until the sun enters supernova in order to figure out what is going on. You can definitely finish the game if you want in a single loop, but of course you need to understand what is going on each planet and how are they connected to the whole thing. So that's all I wanted to share about it, because the whole point of this game is exploration, and it's a really wonderful, very immersive in all aspects, from black holes to time manipulation and whatnot. Super interesting, and I highly recommend it. My only problem with this game was the lack of voice acting, and I understand that this has been made by a smaller team, an indie team, but I wish there was a way to have listened to audio logs and everything. But unfortunately there wasn't, without using mods, and I found out there is a mod which some fans actually created in order for you to enjoy. And if you wanna go for that kind of mod, I will put it in the description down below so you can check out as well. I wish I did play it like that. I wish I had the opportunity to listen to the logs and be able to immerse myself through the conversation of the characters, because I really think it's interesting. I prefer to do that, and that is my thing. But if you don't mind reading, you're definitely gonna enjoy this kind of game. So let's move on to the next game. So the next game that I'm gonna talk about is Hogwarts Legacy. This is probably one of the only games that is making my top 10 list for 2023, and it's because I liked it and because I played it. So Hogwarts Legacy is an open world action adventure game that plays in the world of Harry Potter, and it was a very interesting game to play. I'm not gonna lie, it's gorgeous, it looks stunning in all cases, and the work that was put in the Hogwarts castle was incredible. So I really enjoyed this game. Although the story wasn't the strongest part of this game, it was really interesting. And even if you're not the type of player that enjoys Harry Potter or anything like that, I did read, I think the first or the second book when I was a kid, and I enjoyed it, but I was never a big fan of it. For me, Lord of the Rings was much more interesting as a trilogy than anything else, and still is even today. So if you're gonna hear me talking throughout this channel about games that are more Lord of the Rings related, you're gonna know why if you're watching this right now. So yeah, so the game was very interesting. I sank about 125 hours on the game, and to be honest, really good game until probably midway, when you're starting to get kind of the hang of it and you're starting to feel like the game is kind of lacking content. Of course, I did play it when it first came out, and since then there has been some content and a couple of things that they are bringing to the game. I know there's gonna be a Quidditch game that you're gonna be able to play. There's a Quidditch game that is gonna be multiplayer, and I'm not sure if this is gonna be as well related in the game. But for those who did play it later on, they probably have more content and whatnot. But from what I had, it was that. Still, I think anybody who is remotely interested in a mage-like kind of, or wizard-like kind of a game where they want to explore, they will have a fascinating same time trying this game out because it's stunning in many aspects, and I think that I can't recommend it enough. It has been boycotted by many people for what the writer spoke about and what the writer stands for. I personally don't care about that, and eventually I found out of what she was talking about it. I don't care. I just want to play my games. I just want to enjoy them, and I want to enjoy the world, and the world itself does not talk about this stuff. There have been characters in the game that actually supports, and goes against what she was talking about, but at the end of the day, it's just one character, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you enjoy as long as you are having fun and you're not hurting absolutely anybody. So yeah, that was my thought about this one. I really hope that the developers work on a sequel going forward and put more emphasis on the story. I think the story aspect needs more love and care because the world itself is so interesting, and I really liked it, and it got me interested in actually watching the TV series, and I think it would get anybody really to try out and at least watch it because of the magical aspects of it and the world and having all those friendship relationship in the game, and the characters are quite interesting. And yeah, that was the fun part of the game. So the next game that is on my list, which is the 7th game, and that is Arise, a simple story, and the name of the story is quite simple, but I will explain what this story is all about. You play as an old man that unfortunately passed away, and you play and go through all the stages of his life. You basically re-experience his life from a young age until old age, and you will encounter a love story, you will encounter sorrow and loss and a lot of beautiful things, his romance, and a lot of great things that are being told. And what I really liked about this game was the fact that you are able to control time to go back and forth without you going back and forth. So you would see seasons changing and moments and events that take place, and based on that you maneuver throughout your game. And I think it's a very overlooked game that is worth trying out. It's a very short game as well, and I think you're gonna be really marked by this game. I really enjoyed it, and it had such a well done animation where it didn't have the need to explain anything, to speak anything, and you could tell the emotion of the character without having so much facial distinguished things. You don't need those pores to be seen through and all the reflection of the eyes and stuff like that. It was enough to capture the story and the emotion of that particular moment in order for you to enjoy it. So I highly recommend trying this game out. You can do it in a sitting if you want to, or maybe 2 sittings if you have a limited time, and just enjoy the story. It is not a difficult game to go through. It is not a difficult game to complete. And if, for example, you missed out a few collectibles, you can always come back and re-experience those moments. And once you kind of get the gimmick of each area, then it becomes really easy to understand what you need to do. And it feels good. It feels like a very polished game. The character, the physics behind it, when he falls, it feels weighty and heavy. And I really think that you should try this game out for what it is. And more people should try it. I wish more games like this would come out, and I will be hunting for more games like this. And I have another one on my list that is the next one that I'll be talking about. So let's go to that. So the game that I'm talking about is Inside. There's a lot of things to talk about this game. So the game talks about a boy that is trying to make an escape and goes through this world that is basically hypnotized by the society. It tells a story about how people are brainwashed and how things are going on, and it takes a very interesting turn at the very end of the game. It's a very hard game with so much heart and so much interesting story to tell, and I highly recommend it. To complete this game is fairly easy, but you have some missable areas that you can go. You have a hidden ending as well, and it's super interesting to talk about and to play. And as the game before, as the Rise, it's super easy to go through, and I remember playing this one, I think it was February, and I really enjoyed it. I was like going through it blindly, and it's a super fun platformer with a few puzzle elements, but mainly it's the whole journey that takes you through, and I enjoyed it. And there's nothing like this out there. I mean, sure, you have Limbo, and Limbo might be the only game that might have a little bit of resemblance because it was made by the same developers, but it's nothing like this. And honestly, a very interesting game that I highly recommend picking up. I don't want to spoil too much about this because it's difficult as it was, but throughout the whole journey, it was something else, and I enjoyed it. And sometimes you don't need high cinematics to tell a good story. You just need love, care, and probably good gameplay, I guess. And it is a walking simulator with a lot of elements that you can swim, and you go through a couple of areas that is super interesting. But overall, you don't need much to tell a really good story, a really good game, and I can't recommend it enough. It is on my 6 list. All the games that I listed over here, they could have been higher, but I will be talking about what are my main ones that I really enjoyed, and we're going now into them because they have a story element to it that really captivated me. So the game that I'm talking about is called Black Mesa. Now, why I picked this game to play was because I wanted to play a Half-Life game. I never played Half-Life before, and this was a great opportunity to do so. This remake was made by fans of the franchise, and they did an incredible job at reproducing the scenes and in emphasizing and increasing the quality of the world. The alien world, for example, the characters, the voices that are very similar to the original, and so much more. It was an incredible remake of the game that I can't recommend enough. I wish I would have played Half-Life 1 back in the days when it first came out, but I didn't have the chance. I didn't even know about it, to be honest, and probably I wasn't into that kind of games back then. But playing Black Mesa made me appreciate how well tailored Valve knows how to make games. And honestly, I wish more and more games were made by Valve. I know that they're working on a couple of things, but it's always very vague. I'm very grateful for the Steam Deck and the Valve Index. Of course, I wish I had a Valve Index. So Valve, if you ever come across to my videos, I would really appreciate a Valve Index. I would like play Half-Life Alyx. So going back to the game itself, Black Mesa takes the whole story through a different lens. And by lens, I mean visually, it just amps it up to par with the games that are today. Sure, there are some elements like gameplay and stuff like that that might be a bit outdated, but overall, the game holds very well. And I think anybody who wants to experience Half-Life 1 and doesn't want to go there, they can go in Black Mesa and enjoy the game for what it is. There are 2 more projects that are coming, which are going to hold up the DLCs and the story that are happening in Half-Life. So the 2 games that are being remade by fans is called Blue Shift, which tells the story of one of the guards that are working at Black Mesa, and also Opposing Force. I think the Opposing Force might be the first one that comes out, and I'm really excited about that one. I'll most definitely talk about it on the channel at some point if I will get the chance to play it. But yeah, there's 2 projects that are working on it, and they are being made by fans, different developers that didn't make Black Mesa. So yeah, it's a really good game that tells a very interesting story about an alien invasion, and I can't recommend it enough. If you really want to go and play something that looks good and has an interesting story and it keeps that essence of the game, Black Mesa is the game. But enough about that. Let's go to the next one without delaying more. So the next game that I'm talking about is a game that I did not expect that I will enjoy that much, and that is because I tend to avoid horror games. I do like survival horror where I can fight back, but yeah, I'm surprised myself, and that's The Evil Within. So The Evil Within has been developed and, well, created by the game designer that worked on Resident Evil, well, the remakes mainly, and you can tell by the love and the craftsmanship that has been put in the world. It is very fascinating and, in my opinion, underrated game that more people should play. It tells a story about a detective that responds to distress call where he needs to investigate a murder in a psychiatric hospital, and you, alongside two of your partners, are going in and discover that things are not the way they are. And lo and behold, a lot of things happen and you're being thrown into a really interesting loop and mind-twisting story that you question your own sanity. And man, visually, the cinematics in this game, outstanding. It plays so well between so many aspects. And one thing that I really enjoyed, although to be honest, if you are to play this game blindly and just the main game, you would be fairly confused. There are two DLCs that I highly recommend, and that is to understand what is going on in the world from the other perspectives of the other characters in the game. And it's well done. One of them, where you play with the female protagonist, now I forgot her name, it is more horror-like, and the evil within itself is not really horror. It is creepy in some areas, but it mainly action, so you get to have a lot of fight back of the things that you're seeing in this world. And yeah, it tells a very good story that has been overlooked. It is visually very interesting and it looks really good, and I can't recommend it enough. There's not much else to say, just play the game as it tells such a good story. So yeah, let's go to the next game. So the next one is the sequel of the Metroidvania game that I played last year. So I discovered Ori and the Blind Forest through an event called Play or Pay, and basically somebody gave me the opportunity to play the game, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it because visually it's my cup of tea and I really enjoyed it. I made a review about that one, so if you wanna check that one out, I would appreciate it. But this year I also did a follow-up of the Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is the sequel of the game, and it tells a much more sadder story. Visually, it's much more higher. The combat is much more greater. But for some reason, I can't say that I enjoyed it as much as the first one. And I think it's because it was the newness that you experience when you play this kind of game. Now, that doesn't mean that the game is by all means bad. Not at all. I think it's a masterpiece that is worth experiencing, playing together side by side if you want to. But all in all, it's a wonderful experience that it's worth checking out. It's a Metroidvania that I never thought I would get into. I normally don't play Metroidvania. Not because I don't like them, I never had the chance to play them. And I'm glad that I had this game on my backlog so I can go and experience it and see that there is magic behind Metroidvania games. And this is one of, if not one of the best games that I ever played in my entire life. It's so emotional, so beautiful, and again, doesn't have to use words to tell a good story, and can't recommend it enough. I don't want to make all this video about this game. If you want to watch those two videos, I highly recommend checking them out on my channel. I really enjoy those, and I thought, you know, I'm not gonna be able to make a video for every single game that I played this year. I had a busy schedule and there's not enough time to do so, but this gives me the opportunity to talk about these games by making this list at the end of the year and share my thoughts and games that I enjoyed. So maybe some of the games that are on this list, you know, you get to experience, or maybe I sparked a little bit of interest of a game that you're interested in about and want to see what's it all about, and now that you know more about it, you're more likely to try it out. So yeah, I thought that it will be helpful. But enough about that. Let's talk about my last two games that I really enjoyed, and that is Yakuza 0. Yeah, it's my very first Yakuza game and I've been having a blast on this game. It is an incredible game that I can't recommend enough. It is blending a dramatic story about Yakuza member that is being thrown out, which is called Kiryu, while you're playing the other side, Majima, which is an ex-Yakuza that's trying to go back into the Yakuza, and the connection between them has so many elements, and aside from that, the side quests are absolutely incredible. It's very funny and in different contrast than the main campaign, and they blend so well. And on top of that, you have mini games that can be a hit or miss. If you are a completionist, you're gonna have sometimes a lot of frustrations. I'm not gonna lie, I spent more than 300 hours on this game to complete it, to get whatever I needed to get to be there. But each story, each side quest, it was incredibly well crafted, and I'm so happy that I picked up to play this franchise from the beginning. And this gives me hope to try other games from my backlog that are more lengthy, and especially Yakuza games. I can't wait to play the next one and see how Kiryu evolves. And I know that is a game that was remade or remastered for later audience, and Yakuza 0 came much later after that. I think after the third or fourth one that came out, so they went back and tried to tell the story, the origins of Kiryu and Majima. And yeah, I'm ready. I want to know how well they connect together, and I think the developers do a really good job at capturing the essence of the story and keep you engaged and feel like you are watching a drama. It's really good. I really enjoyed all aspects of it, and I wish there were more games, open world games like this, to the point that I would say, like, I wish even GTA had this kind of elements where there were details and stuff like that. But yeah, man, very good game, and I would have put it on the first list on my top, or with no reasons for how much time I spent and I enjoyed. It took me months complete. I was playing other games from this list in between, and others that did not make it to this list or the honorable mention. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. But without further ado, let's talk about the last game and the number one spot. And probably some of you will know what game it is, because I've been talking on Discord on and on about this one. And yeah, the game that I'm talking about is A Plague Tale Requiem, which is the sequel of A Plague Tale Innocence. So this continues the story of Amicia and Hugo, and you're trying to find out a cure for your brother. And Amicia is a lot much more better written this time around. Her voice acting has improved a lot, and to be honest, the game really looks incredible. The story is what takes it to another level, and I was like, yes, this is my game of the year. I know that for some people it might be Zelda, it might be Spider-Man, or it might be Baldur's Gate, or it might be Resident Evil 4 remake, or any other game that was mentioned in the Game Awards. For me, A Plague Tale Requiem is the type of game that I would give awards, and I know that it was nominated in previous years when it came out, but oftentimes this game and its prequel gets overlooked. And there are other people on other channels that talk about this game, but I think that they don't talk enough about how good this game is. And I think we need to talk about it, because it is an incredible story with so much depth, emotion, character, growth, development, and yeah, it's just incredible. And I've been talking about this one and the prequel for many months, and some of you who are watching this are probably going to know that I'm referring to you. One of them was one of our members that used to be on our Discord, and I introduced him, and he fell in love with the world, the characters, and yeah, he played the sequel and he just as much enjoyed it. So yeah, I can't recommend this game enough. I think it's overlooked. I did pick it up when it was a sale, and I said to myself, if I bought this one, I'm gonna play it right away. And so I did. It took me a couple of days and I picked it up. I was like, it felt like going back home. It felt like I missed the characters. There's much to talk about this game. The roller coaster, the adventure, the gameplay elements that are being upgraded overall. The combat feels much better. The end boss feels much more interesting. It is a well-rounded game, a great adventure stealth game. Nowadays, you can even go, if you want to, all in aggressive and play it that way, and you're you're not gonna be as punished for it because you can fight back. Amicia is much more reliable, and yeah, I mean, it's really good. So yeah, pretty much that is my list of games that I wanted to talk about. But let me know, what do you think? I forgot that I should have put the trailer for the game itself, so I'll put it at the end. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and to support the channel by liking and commenting. And we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate it if you considered, you know, to help me out to get to that objective. But I know I've asked you before that, so I'm not gonna go into more of that. If you want to know more about who I am and what I like and keep up to date, you can do so by joining our Discord. I have put in the description a link where you can join. This winter we're doing giveaways for Christmas, we're doing Secret Santa, we're having gift card giveaways, and so much more that are game related. So mainly there are games that are on Steam. Mainly I play on PC, but if you are the type of player that plays elsewhere, still you are invited to join us and try out your luck in our giveaway, which is £25 as a gift card. That's $30, I think. They're gonna be randomly picked a Secret Santa that we're gonna give, and we're also gonna receive. And the good thing about this whole thing is that Armea is also taking part in this Secret Santa, and that is gonna be her bonus that is gonna go on top of that. So somebody else is gonna win, except myself, because I cannot take that, you know, it's all about you guys. And she's gonna be giving out to somebody as a Secret Santa and make their Christmas much more interesting. You can comment below if you have any kind of questions regarding the games and anything like that. You can definitely do so and let me know, what do you think. Also, let me know what are your top games of backlog games that you played, of games you won, if you're from Steam gifts or if they're from somewhere else, maybe you traded them for something else. Let me know, because I would really appreciate it. So that's all I wanted to make this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. My name is Vashral. This has been a Tellplay discussion video or listing video, whatever you want to say. It's kind of like a list, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay safe, take care, and happy gaming.